Hi, I'm Joe. I consider myself to be a fairly typical dyslexic. I was diagnosed really quite early because my mother was a teacher, and at the time it was quite a niche thing and debated by the kind of academic establishment whether it was actually a thing or just middle class people having stupid children. Um, and as a result, there wasn't terribly much provision at the time. Early on in my schooling, I picked up reading a little later than normal, but I kind of caught up fairly reasonably. But my handwriting and spelling and presentation, all that was all kind of a long way behind my sort of verbal abilities and my sort of artistic expressions and that kind of thing. So it's a sort of classic case of there being a discrepancy between the two, really. Um, and Generally, my school experience wasn't great. I never really felt like I fit in. And that's typical of a lot of different people, really. Um, and My parents took me out of a state school and actually put me in a private school because they recognised dyslexia and provided help, which I'm extremely grateful because it equipped me to go on to university and which I got an awful lot out of. Um, my my life now, I design furniture for shops, which plays to the dyslexic strengths really of spatial awareness and visualization and drawing and that kind of thing. So I've made a positive career choice and find myself working with quite a lot of other dyslexics, really. If you're in a studio setting and you don't know how to spell something, there's not likely to be anybody sat there who can help you, really. The describing being dyslexic is quite difficult because it's fairly fundamental to who I am, and I've always been like this, really. It's technically it's a discrepancy between your written and verbal abilities, but it manifests itself in a lot of other ways, really. One of the ways I've used to describe it to other people is if you know the feeling that something you're writing's flowing and it's going quite well. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen sometimes. Well, to myself and dyslexics that I know, that's never happened. I can write, and I've done 2 undergraduate degrees, but each sentence is a struggle and something that's crafted individually rather than there being a train of thought that just carries you along, really. And I'm not very good at lefts and rights still as an adult. Some of my presentation, my notes for this little thing, which I keep on peeping at, are, they're not the neatest in the entire world. And I think it's, like I said, it's difficult to separate it from the other aspects of me, but other people seem to naturally organise things where I'm not bad at this, but it's something I've really had to train myself in order to do and train myself in order to be effective. Martin asked what I would have done differently, really. That's really quite a difficult thing to say because the upbringing I had and the way that people dealt with this led to me being me. I think fundamentally, at my school experience, there were some things I could do really quite easily without any particular effort, and there were other things that I was involved with which, no matter how hard I tried, I got no positive results particularly. So I could walk into an art exam or a physics exam without doing any work, really, and I have a relatively good memory, so I could just sit down and get good results. Whereas the flip side, I could study endlessly for a spelling test or some sort of essay writing thing and still get terrible marks. So I didn't learn I didn't gain really a terribly good work ethic when I was younger, and that definitely took some time to come, which really I think held me back and stopped me getting the academic success that I might have been otherwise capable of. And that's that may be something that other dyslexics suffer from, or it might just be me who was a lazy child. Um, I think one of the things that really helped me and other people my sort of generation, because I'm 36 and personal computers just came into being really as we were in the later stages of our schooling. That allowed me to be legible. It allowed me to spell check the work that I did, so people weren't constantly stumbling over the glaring mistakes that I made, and just allowed me to express myself in a slightly less painful way, because my handwriting, there's probably 3 people on the planet who can read it confidently if I'm writing with any speed, and I'm not one of them. So yeah, essentially dyslexia has made me who I am. It's difficult because you spend a lot of time translating from the non-dyslexic way of doing things and non-dyslexic ways of thinking, but you have access to arguably kind of slightly keener abilities in other areas, really. So, like I said before, dyslexic people are overrepresented in some areas and very underrepresented in others. So, if you are dyslexic, then there's hope out there. It's just a case of finding a niche, really, where your skills are useful and your weaknesses don't hold you back too much. So good luck. And if you're not dyslexic, then it is a real thing. And just try and be a bit patient with us when we can't spell things. Thanks a lot. Bye.